Segment of the show for today. The topic is the revolution in Egypt, and of course our guest is Dr. LMadu2. Now, Dr. LMadu2, we left with you giving us an overview in terms of some of the Egyptian administrators, but let's pick up where you wish to start for this second segment.
Yeah, like I said, you know, when Nasser and its Revolutionary Council, you know, overthrew King Farouk in 1952, you know, power was handed over to General Negib because the younger officers were not known in Egyptian society. So to be on the safe side, you know, they put Negib there as a figurehead, hoping to manipulate him, you know, from behind. Nasser, Sadat, and the rest, they were all members of the Revolutionary Council. But Negib, you know, proved too independent for Nasser and his group. So they shoved him aside, and Nasser took over as president himself. You know, when he died, you know, later in '71, Sadat took over. You know, Sadat was vice president at that time. Sadat took over as president. You know, when Sadat was assassinated in 1981, Mubarak became president himself. And one funny thing is that for 30 years, Mubarak didn't have any vice president. He refused to because he didn't want anybody to think they want to take over from him. Yeah, it was just on 28th of
almost 30
January.
years he operated without a vice president.
That's correct.
Was there any idea as to who might succeed him if something happened to him?
Well, that's where we're coming to now. He actually wanted his son to succeed him. That's part of the anger of the Egyptians. He wanted to put his son in there, Gamal Mubarak. They already started grooming him. He already was appointed head of the, you know, part of the political organization, the National Democratic Party. So he didn't have any vice president because of it, so he wanted to make sure that place is open. It was only on the 28th, 29th of January that he appointed Omar Suleiman, who is the chief of the secret police, you know, as vice president, and started trying to hand over power to him. Okay, so this is exactly, you know, how, you know, the power structure has been since Nasser. One significant thing is that everybody who has ruled Egypt since 1952 has been a military man. And that shows the preponderance of the military in Egyptian, you know, society. Now, when Mubarak stepped down a week ago, he handed it over to the Supreme Military Council, headed by Field Marshal Mohammed Hussein Tantawi, who is the Minister of Defense. That's the group that's ruling the country now. Now, what is the effect, you know, of the Egyptian revolution on other Arab countries? Yemen, you know, there has been demonstrations in Yemen calling on President Abdullah Saleh to step down. Saleh has been in power since 1978. He's been in power for 32 years. Yeah, and the people are calling on him now to step down. But he has said he's going to step down when his term expires in 2013. The people say, no, you have to step down now. What worries, you know, the U.S. administration about Yemen is that Yemen is the center of terrorism now in the Middle East, and also fighting a secessionist insurgency in the south. There were two Yemens before. It was only in 1990 that they made to become one country. The South Yemen is again trying to succeed. So you have that problem too, combined with terrorism and combined with the current demonstrations. All indications are that Saleh's government might fall, or that the country might plunge into a civil war. In Algeria, you have the same problem. Since 1992, when the military also, you know, cancelled an election won by the Islamic Salvation Front, there has been an Islamic insurgency in Algeria. In 1999, a veteran of Algerian politics called Abdelaziz Bouteflika became president. He's been president since 1999. But now there are demonstrations in Algeria for him to step down because his party, the National Liberation Front of Algeria, has been in power since Algeria gained independence in 1962 when Ben Bella became president. So they want that structure dismantled. But the army, it's like the Egyptian army also, the role they play in Algeria is a part of the governmental structure because they've been running that country since independence till today. In Jordan, that's a different case altogether under King Abdullah. A lot of people want reforms now, trying to make him a constitutional monarch, you know, like the Queen, instead of an absolute monarch, which he is now. Actually, his dynasty has ruled that country since time immemorial. In fact, his father, the late King Hussein, was king from the 1950s when his own father was assassinated. When he died, in 1999, his son, King Abdullah, took over. So the people think it's time now for reforms, to reform the monarchy to fit modern times. In Libya, a lot of demonstrations now against Colonel Gaddafi. He's been in power since 1969 and shows no sign of stepping down. Some people think he's trying to, put his son in there, as to succeed him. He has organized some counter demonstrations, pro-government demonstrations like they did in Egypt, against those against his government. Then in Sudan, President Omar Hassan al-Bashir has been in there since 1989 when he overthrew the government of Sadiq el-Mahdi. Now that the south of Sudan is going to be independent, a lot of the Muslim groups in the country are calling for him to step down. In fact, the chief intellectual gadfly of the Islamic movement in Sudan, a man called Hassan al-Turabi, has already called for Bashir to step down. Indications are, if South Sudan declares its independence as possible, on July 9th this year, it will, compound Bashir's problem already. You remember he's already under indictment by the International Criminal Court. And so a lot of Northerners are blaming him for the South succeeding. So with that, and given the fact that he's been there since 1989, people are, are calling on him now to step down. That's one place to watch. That's what might happen in the next few months when the South declares its independence. In Morocco, people are demonstrating now also against the king. The king who came in, he's been there since 1999. When his father died, his father was King Hassan II. He ruled the country from 1961 until 99. When he died, then his son, Mohammed V took over, Mohammed VI took over as president and as king, and he's been there since 1999. The problem is a lot of the citizens, the Berbers in Morocco, regard the royal family as an Arab imposition on them. And in fact, when King Hassan was president, he was nearly overthrown twice by the army.
Let's
in the
hold it
1970s.
right there, Dr. Madu, and all of this intrigue. And we're going to take this second commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this short commercial break.